Hello and welcome to the 4th episode of the Conquering FreeCodeCamp Curriculum Challenge. Today we're going to take a look at two new sections from the FreeCodeCamp curriculum. Previously we finished the HTML, HTML5, CSS, and then yesterday we did Applied Visual Design. So today we're going to look at the Applied Accessibility and Responsive Web Design principles. I'm doing both of them because they are pretty short. As you can see, the Applied Visual Design had 52 exercises, and these only have 26 total, so we can do them in one go. And then in the next video, we're going to look over CSS Flexbox and CSS Grid. That will be later today for those of you who are watching live, and for those of you who are watching the recording, you will find the playlist in the description. Alright, so let's start with the Applied Accessibility. Also, as I said always, it's a little disclaimer, so make sure that you either follow along with me, so you're coding also, or make sure that you do it on your own and then watch this recording so you get the most out of it. I found out that if you're coding also, it's better for you to remember for the long term. Alright, hello to everyone who joined in the chat and welcome to the live stream. Alright. Yeah, so we have a question in the chat. The schedule for responsive web design says 5 p.m. Yeah, that was the initial plan for this to be done later. But considering that these two are pretty short, I'm doing them in this video, both of them. Because later today I want to finish Flexbox and Grid, and starting tomorrow I want to start working on the project. Because a lot of you are waiting for this, to build the projects. Okay, thanks for the question. Now let's get into it. Let's see, accessibility generally means having web content and a user interface that can be understood, navigated, and interacted with a broad audience. This includes people with visual, auditory, mobility, or cognitive disabilities. So basically, when you're creating a website, you also need to consider those who might not be able to see well or might not be able to hear well. And for that, there are a couple of things you can do. For example, there are screen readers. So for those people who can see the images, you can add an alt tag to your images, which then will be read by the screen reader. And there are a lot of things to consider. Okay. Yeah, as they mentioned here, other users may be able to navigate through your site only using a keyboard. So keeping the needs of various users in mind when developing a project can go a long way towards creating an open web. And they say there are 3 general concepts this section will explore. 1. Have a well-organized code that uses appropriate markup. 2. Ensure that the text alternatives exist for non-text and visual content. And 3. Create an easy navigated page that's keyboard friendly. Alright, let's go to the first lesson. Yep, so the first lesson is about adding the alt attribute for your image tag. This helps in cases where the image fails to load or can be seen by the user. So what I mentioned before. We also covered this in the first video with the HTML. So you can take a look at that too. Okay, people with visual impairments rely on screen readers to convert web content to an audio interface. And that will, the alt tag will be read by these screen readers. Okay, let's see the exercise. Campercat happens to be both a coding ninja and an actual ninja. English. Who is building a website to share his knowledge. The profile picture he wants to use shows his skills and should be appreciated by all site visitors. Add an alt attribute in an image tag that contains campercat in doing karate. Okay. The image source doesn't link to an actual file, so you should see the alt text in the display. Okay, so we should have to this image tag an alt which say campercat. And you can see now that the text is displayed because the image is broken, doesn't exist. Alright, this was pretty simple. Let's go to the next one. Know when all text should be left blank. Okay. Sometimes images are grouped with a caption already describing them, or are used by decoration only. In these cases, all text may seem redundant or unnecessary. Okay. Yeah, so you should leave the alt tag empty in these cases. Background images usually fall under the decorative label as well. For images with a caption, you may still want to include alt text, since it helps search engines catalog the content of the image. Okay, Campercat has coded a skeleton page for the blog part of his website. He is planning to add a visual break between his two articles with a decorative image of a samurai sword. Alright. Add an alt tag to the image tag and set it to an empty string. Okay, alt the empty string. Note that the image source doesn't link to an actual file. Don't worry that there are no source showing in the display. Okay, so yeah, you can see that without the alt tag we have the broken image icon, and if we add an empty alt tag, then it's gone. Good. Next, use headings to show hierarchy relationships of content. Okay, so we learned that we have headings from 1 to 6, and screen readers can be set to read only the headings on a page so the user gets a summary. Oh, that's nice. This means that it is important for the heading tags in your markup to have semantic meaning and related to each other, not be picked merely for their size values. Okay. Semantic meaning means that the tag you use around content indicates the type of information it contains. Alright. Let me skim over this. You can read the entirely if you want. I forgot to mention, this is on freeCodeCamp.org. If you want to visit, there is also a link into the description below if you want to follow along. Let me go over the chat. Hello Jessica, welcome. Webnoob. Hi, and good morning to you too. Okay. We have here an example that a page with H2 elements followed by several sections, subsections labeled with H4 would be confused for a screen reader. With 6 choices, it's tempting to use a tag because it looks better in a browser, but you can use CSS to edit the relative sizing. Okay. Each page should have a H1 element, which is the main subject of your content. This and the other headings are used in part by search engines to understand the topic of the page. Okay, that's it, the exercise. Campercat wants a page on his site dedicated to becoming a ninja. Help him fix the heading so his markup gives semantic meaning to the content. and shows the proper parent-child relationships of his section. Change all the H5 tags to the proper heading level to indicate their subsections of H2. Use H3 for that. Okay, so we basically need to change all of these to H3 like that. Run the tests. Okay, perfect. Jump straight to the content using the main element. HTML5 introduced a number of new elements, and we learned this in the first section, HTML and HTML5. By default, the browser renders these elements similarly to the div element, so the main, header, footer, nav, and all these. However, using them where appropriate gives additional meaning in your markup. The tag can indicate the type of information it contains, which adds semantic meaning to the content. Alright. The main element is used to wrap the main content, and there should be only one per page. It's meant to surround the information that's related to the central topic of your page. So for example, I guess for a blog, it will be the blog post, so where all the text for your blog goes. Okay. The main tag also has an embedded landmark feature that assistive technology can use to quickly navigate to the main content. If you ever seen a jump to main content link at the top of a page, using a main tag automatically gives assistive devices that functionality. Okay, that's a good thing to know. Campercat has some big ideas for his Ninja Weapons page. Help him set up his markup by adding opening and closing main tags between the header and footer. Okay, so we open and close main. Keep the main tags empty for now. Okay, that was easy. Wrap content in the article element. Okay. Let's see. This is used to wrap independent, self-contained content. Oh, look at that. So this tag works well with blog entries, forum posts, or news articles. Alright. Look at this. The div groups content, the section groups related content, and the article groups independent, self-contained content. Okay. Interesting. These are good to keep in mind. Honestly, I haven't used them that much, so I should. Campercat used article tags to wrap the post of his blog page, but he forgot to use them around the top one. Change the div tag to use article tag instead. So I guess this one should say article. Yep, that's it. Make screen reader navigation easier with the header landmark. Okay, so we have the header tag, which supposedly have to have the header. No, the header is meant for use in the body tag of your HTML document. This is different than the head element, which contains the page title, metadata, and all of that. Campercat is writing some great articles about ninja training and wants to add a page for them to his site. Change the top div that is currently containing the H1 into header. Okay. For this section there is more reading than doing, but I guess that's a good thing. Make screen reader navigation easier with the nav landmark. Okay. This tag is meant to wrap around the main navigation links in your page. Okay. So if we have multiple navigation, it isn't necessary to wrap those with the nav tag. Using a footer covered in the next challenge is sufficient. Okay, so if we have the second navigation in the footer, we don't need to use nav. Good to know. CamperCat includes navigation links at the top of his training page, but wrapped them in a div. Change the div to a nav. Okay. Pretty simple to execute. Now we need just to remember it, so when we create our website to use this knowledge. Okay, make screen reader navigation easier with the footer landmark. Alright, so I guess this goes at the bottom. Footer, like that. And boom. Improve accessibility of audio content with the audio element. Alright. Okay, I'll let you read these. So the audio tag supports the controls attribute, which allows you to play, pause the video and other controls. This is a boolean, so it can be set to true or false, I guess, or on and off, one of two. Note, multimedia content usually has both visual and auditory components. It needs synchronized caption and a text transcript so users with visual and or auditory impairments can access it. Generally, a web developer is not responsible for creating the captions or transcript, but needs to know to include them. Alright, time to take a break from CamperCat and meet fellow camper Xerxiax. Okay, a champion of accessibility and a screen reader user. To hear a clip of his screen reader in action, add the audio element after the p tag. Okay, we need an opening and closing tag. Include the controls attribute. Controls, okay. Then place a source tag. Source. This is a self-enclosing tag. And set it to this. So source src will be this. And we have the type, so we need to specify the type to be audio mpeg, mpeg, I guess. Okay, and look at that. Now we have this audio. I don't know if you hear this. That's funny. Okay, no, the audio clip may sound fast and be difficult to understand, but that is a normal speed for screen reader users. Whoa, that's crazy. I didn't know that. Alright, 41% done. Improve chart accessibility with the figure element. Okay. We have figure element and fig caption. Used together, these items wrap a visual representation, image, diagram, or chart, along with its caption. Okay. Here's an example. Note that the fig caption goes inside the figure tags and can be combined with other elements. Yeah, and as WebNoob is saying in the chat, these additional HTML5 tags should be used more often to avoid the div hell. That's right. So as of now, the div tag is the most used tag on all across the websites. So we need to change that and make the websites more semantic by using these HTML5 tags. Okay, and look at that. So we have the figure and the image inside it and the fig caption. Okay, to be honest, I didn't use this before. Okay, help him structure his page better by changing the div tag. I guess this one to a figure. Okay. And instead of the p tag, we will have a caption. Oops. And don't we have an image? Apparently we don't. Interesting. Okay, let's see. Will it pass? Yeah, apparently it will. 1 second. Okay. Improve form field accessibility with the label element. Yes, so we touched this in the HTML and HTML5 video. Basically, you would like to have a label next to your input. And you can set the for attribute for your label, the corresponding input with the same ID. So if your input has an ID of name, your label should have the for set to be name, or whatever property you want here or value. Alright. Let's see. Add the for attribute on the email label. Where is it? Email label for, and it should be set to email because the input has the ID of email. That's simple. Oh, look at that. 50% done. Nice. Wrap radio buttons in a Fieldset element for better accessibility. Alright. So we can see here we set the field set, have a legend which describes what these are, and all the labels and inputs go inside. Good. Okay. Change the div tag surrounding the radio buttons. This to be a field set. Like that. Look at that, adds a nice border. And the paragraph should be a legend. Oh, look at that, and it pushes it up there. How nice is that? Good. Add accessibility to date picker. Let's see, what is this? Okay. We can specify different types for the input. We learned about type text. We saw type email before. I talked about type submit, and there is also now type date. We have type password, type number, type range. There are a lot of them. You can learn more about them. Let's see, input type. I think there is an article here on W3 Schools. Yeah, look at that. All of these. You won't use all of them, but it's nice to look over to see what is possible. Alright. Okay. You can see that the type of date on the older browsers will default to text. So it helps to show users the expected date format in the label or as a placeholder text just in case. Yeah, so if your users use an older browser, make sure that inside the label you tell them how the date format should be inputted inside the input. Okay, Campercat is setting up a Mortal Kombat tournament and wants to ask his competitors to see what date works best. Add an input tag with a type attribute of date. Okay, input. Like that. Type of date. Okay, and an ID of pick date. Pick date. And the name of date. Okay. So all of these. And now look at that, we have a drop down and we can select the date, which is nice. Awesome. Standardize times with the HTML5 datetime attribute. Okay, I didn't know about this. Continuing with the date theme, HTML5 also introduced the time element along with the datetime attribute. This is an inline element that can wrap a date or time on a page. A valid format of that date is held by the datetime attribute. This is the value accessed by assistive devices. It helps avoid confusion by stating a standardized version of a time. Okay, and we have an example here. It says time and we have the date time set to year, month and day. Okay, let's see. Wrap a time tag around the text Thursday, September 50. Okay. So time goes around this time. Okay. And at the date time attribute to be 2016, 09 and 15. All right. I see there are times here too. Oh yeah, and they are wrapped around. Okay, that's neat. And they also have this, which I guess is the time also. Interesting. Okay, run tests. Perfect, 64% done. Make elements only visible to a screen reader by using custom CSS. Okay. Have you noticed that all the applied accessibility challenges so far haven't used any CSS? This is to show how the importance of a logical document outline and using semantically meaning tags around your content before introducing the visual design aspects. However, CSS magic can also improve accessibility on your page when you want to visually hide content meant only for screen readers. This happens when information is in a visual format like a chart, but screen reader users need an alternative presentation like a table to access the data. Okay, CSS is used to position the screen reader read-only elements of the visual area of the browser. Okay, so you can see here we have this class of SR only, which will take the element and move it left 10,000 pixels. So basically out of the viewport. Okay. And it's also overflow hidden with a width and a height of 1 pixels. Okay. Note that the following CSS approaches will not do the same thing. Display none of visibility hidden hides content for everyone, including screen readers. Screen reader users. I keep saying screen readers. Okay. 0 values for pixel sizes such as width 0 and height 0 removes that element from the flow of your document, meaning screen readers will ignore it. So this is basically a trick to keep them in the flow of the document, but at the same time to be all the way to the left so no one can see it. Okay, Cat created a really cool stocked bar chart for his training page and put the data into a table for his visually impaired users. The table already has a SR only class, but the CSS rules aren't filled in yet. Okay, so we basically need to add this because we already have the declaration. Let's just copy this position, left, width, height, and top, and overflow. And now, let's see, where was the table? Yeah, the table is here. So if we apply this, then the table goes away. Good. Almost 70%. Improve readability with high contrast text. Whoa, look at that. It's barely visible. So the Web Content Accessibility Guidelines recommend at least 4.5 to 1 contrast ratio for normal text. The ratio is calculated by comparing the relative luminance values of two colors. This ranges from 1 to 1 for the same color, or no contrast, to 21:1 for white against black. Okay, the strongest contrast. There are many contrast checking tools available online that calculates this ratio for you. Alright. Camper's cat choice of light gray text on a white background for his recent blog post has 1.5 to 1 contrast ratio, making it hard to read. Yep, pretty hard. Change the color of the text from the current gray to darker gray. 63633. Look at that. And now the contrast ratio is 6 to 1. Well, that's still not the best, I'd say, but yeah, I would do something like 131313. Now this is readable. Oh well. Next. Okay, avoid colorblindness issues by using sufficient contrast. Okay, I'll let you read this. I'll go straight to the exercise. Okay. Camper Cat has a current combination of greenish background with a maroon text color, which is not great. You can adjust the likeness of the colors since he declared them using CSS HSL. We learned about HSL in yesterday's live stream. Go check that out. Okay, increase the background color likeness value from 35 to 55 and decrease the color likeness from 20 to 50. So now you can see that the contrast is 5.9 to 1. Okay, yeah, it looks better. Alright, avoid colorblindness issues by carefully choosing colors that convey information. Whoa, look at this green on top of yellow. Whoa. Okay. Okay, those are not good. Change the text color to a dark blue. Okay, let's do. Perfect, now it looks better. Give links meaning by using descriptive link text. Okay, we learned about tags in the first video. Having a list of click here or read more links isn't helpful. Instead, you should use a brief but descriptive text within the A tags to provide more meaning for the users. That's right. The link text that CamperCat is using is not very descriptive without the surrounding context. Move the anchor tags so they wrap around the text information about batteries instead of click here. Okay, so instead of click here, we put the tags around information about batteries. So now this is clickable. Okay, good. That's interesting. Make links navigable with HTML access keys. Oh, nice. HTML users, no. HTML offers the access key attribute to specify a shortcut key to activate or bring focus to an element. This can make navigation more efficient for keyboard-only users. HTML5 allows this attribute to be used on any element, but it's particularly useful when it's used with inactive ones. Okay, these include links, buttons, and form controls. Here is an example. Success key set to B. Nice, I didn't know about this attribute. Okay, the cat camper wants the link around the two blog articles titles to have keyboard shortcuts, so his site's users can quickly navigate to the full story. Add an access key attribute to both links. Okay, so the first one is for G and the second one is for C. So now, interesting. It didn't work for pressing the G and C for some reason. Use Stepindex to add keyboard for focus on the element. Okay, this is interesting. The tab index attribute has three distinct functions relating to an element's keyboard focus. When it's on a tag, it indicates that the element can be focused on. The value, an integer that positive, negative, or 0, determines the behavior. Okay. Certain elements, such as links, form controls, like the inputs, automatically receive keyboard focus when a user tabs through a page. It's in the same order as the elements come in the HTML source markup. This same functionality can be given to other elements such as div, span, and p tag by placing a tab index 0 attribute on them. Oh, nice. I didn't know about that. A negative tab index value indicates that an element is focusable but is not reachable by the keyboard. This method is generally used to bring focus to content programmatically, like when a div used for a pop-up window is activated, and is beyond the scope of this challenge. Okay. Campercat created a new survey to collect information about his users. He knows input fields automatically get keyboard focus, but he wants to make sure his keyboard users pause the instructions while tabbing through the items. Oh, that's nice. So with this you can make sure that if people tab, they get to the section you want. Okay. Add the tab index attribute to the paragraph tag and set its value to 0. Okay. Also, the tab index enables the CSS pseudo-class focus to work with the p tab. Okay, oh, look at that. You can see how it highlights this section. It's nice. Okay, run the tests. 95% done. I think this is the last one. Use tab index to specify the order of keyboard focus for several elements. Okay. So setting tab index to 1 will bring keyboard focus to that element first. Then it cycles through the sequence of specified tab index values, 2, 3, etc. by moving to default and tab index 0 items. It's important to note that when the tab order is set this way, it overrides the default order, which uses the HTML source. This may confuse users who are expecting to start navigation from the top of the page. This technique may be necessary in some circumstances, but in terms of accessibility, take care before applying it. Here is an example. Okay. Campercat has a search field on his inspirational quotes page that he plans to position in the upper right corner with CSS. He wants the search input and submit input from form controls to be the first two items in the tab order. Okay, so tab index will be 1. Okay, the search input and tab index 2 to the submit. Tab index 2. Let's see what happens. Okay. It's not working for me only. That's weird. It should focus the input. Oh well. Apparently submitted. Okay. So we completed applied accessibility. Nice. This was more of a theoretical part, but it's very important to keep in mind if you want your website to be accessible for everybody. And if you're going to work for a bigger company which builds websites for like big websites, you'll see that you need to keep this in mind. Alright, let's look into responsive web design. Okay. Let me drink a little water before we continue. Alright, so today there are many types of devices that can be accessed by the web. They range from large desktop computer to small mobile phones. These devices have different screen sizes, resolutions, and processing power. Responsive web design is an approach to designing web content that responds to the constraints of different devices. Okay. In general, design the page CSS to your target audience. If you expect most of your traffic from the mobile users, take a mobile-first approach. Then add conditional rules for the larger screen sizes. If your visitors are desktop users, then design for larger screens with additional conditions for smaller sizes. CSS gives you the tools to write different style rules. Okay, then apply them depending on the devices displaying the page. This section will cover the basic ways to use CSS for responsive web design. Alright, this is nice. I remember back in 2013, responsiveness was not really at the beginning, but it was on a moving up trend. And I learned Bootstrap, which was pretty nice back then. It still is, but I don't use it that much anymore. I write my own media queries now. Okay, so yeah, I won't read this. You should read it. It's long and we're lazy, so yeah. But basically, this is how you declare media queries with the @media and then followed with a parenthesis where you specify the min width or the min height or the max width or the max height, whichever you want. So, for example, let's say that on desktop you want an image to be 400 pixels because the desktop is bigger and you want the image to be bigger. And on mobile you want the image to be 200 pixels. The way you do that is by first declaring the image to be the size, the width to be 400 pixels, and then later down the file you're going to say media to be max width, and whatever the width of the phone is, usually it's around, I think, 400 and so pixels. And inside these brackets you can say how it should look on mobile. In that case, if you're designing for desktop first, you will use the max width on down the page. Okay, I guess this will be much intuitive if we're going to use it, so you can see what it does. Add the media query so that the paragraph tag has a font size of 10 pixels when the device height is less than or equal to 800 pixels. Okay, I usually don't do min height. So when the device's height is less than or equal to, so basically max height will be 800 pixels. And now the paragraph font size should be 10 pixels. Okay, this is it. So as you can see, we declare the media and we want the device height to be less than or equal to 800. So basically the max height, when it's 800 pixels, we want to apply this. Now let's see if we zoom in here. You can see that if we zoom in, the height will decrease. So at a certain point, you'll see the text will be small. Yeah, but this is usually done with max width. You don't touch the max height of the page, and I don't remember ever seeing that. Let's see, max width 500 pixels. Yeah. So in this case, let me scroll like that. Okay. So we have the website here, and when the max width will be smaller than 500 pixels, look at that. This style will be applied and will overwrite the style above. Okay. So you always have to think about, okay, on the desktop I want to be like this, and then on mobile I want to be like this. And you leave the styles which will override the styles from above. In this case, you put them down on the file because it's cascading style sheet and it will read from top to bottom. Okay. Oh, I forgot to change this. So max height for 800. That's what they want in this text. Alright. Make an image responsive. Making an image responsive with CSS is actually very simple. Instead of applying an absolute width to an element, like width 720 pixels, you can use max width 100%, display block, and height auto. By default, I think it's height auto, so we don't need to declare it, but yeah. So with max width, we're specifying that the image should be the most 100% of the container's width. The height property of auto keeps the original aspect ratio of the image. Okay. And the display property to block changes the image from an inline element to a block element on its own line. Yeah, I usually only say max width 100% and it works pretty much the same. Okay, add style rules for the image tag and make it responsive. So max width 100%. Display block. This will stretch it now. And height auto. Let's see. Yeah. So this image is probably this size, and this is why it won't go 100%. If we change this to width instead, it will go all the way to the end. But with max width it will be fixed. So now if we scroll in, zoom in, you can see that the image is getting smaller and smaller. So the max width is 1%. Good. Use a Retina image for higher resolution displays. Okay. Okay. Set the width and height of the image tag to half of their original values. In this case, both the original height and original width are 200 pixels. Okay, so that's nice. Image, we set the width to half of 200, which is 100, and height 100 pixels. And apparently this will make it Retina display ready. Okay. And the last one. Make typography responsive. Instead of using AM or pixel to size text, you can use viewport units for responsive typography. Viewport units, like percentages, are relative units, but they are based off different items. Viewport units are relative to the viewport dimension, width or height of a device, and percentages are relative to the size of a parent container. Okay, so yeah, when you set the percentage, it will take its parent. When you set viewport height or viewport width, it will take the entire width or height of the browser view. There are 4 different viewports: viewport height, viewport width, viewport height, viewport minimum. Okay, would be 70% of the viewport's smaller dimension, height or width. Oh, nice. I didn't know that. So Vmin is 70% of the viewport's smaller dimension, so either height or width, and Vmax is the bigger dimension. Okay. Hello, Muradson. Whoa. Sorry, I misspelled your name. And hey, Rahman, welcome to the live stream. Okay. Here's an example that sets a body tag to 30% of the viewport width. So 30 viewport widths. Okay. Set the width, set the width of the H2 tag to 80% of the viewport width. Okay, so H2 width should be 80 viewport widths. And then the paragraph, 70%, 75% of the viewport's smaller dimensions. So Vmin will be 75 Vmin. Oh no, so width, yeah, 70% Vmin. Okay, that was pretty much it, I guess. We finished responsive web design principles. There are a lot more which goes into this, but yeah, as of now, this is the responsive web design principles. We're going to learn more about responsive web design probably in the Flexbox and Grid section later today. Or for those of you who are watching the recording, you can find the recordings inside the playlist in the description below. Okay, so for those of you, if you're live, for those of you who are live, sorry, let me know if you have any questions. I'm going to wait a little bit for your questions, if any, and if not, then I'm going to close the live stream and I see you later today for Flexbox and Grid. And then starting tomorrow, we're going to go over the projects. All right. No questions? Let me drink water in the meantime. Alright, that. Thank you all for watching and see you later. Have a good day. Bye.